This is the stock market pre-market prep. I trade the S&P futures market. I concentrate on one market, the ES, called the E-mini. This is my technical analysis pre-market prep video where I let you see the areas of interest for long and short trades. I also provide levels I will be looking at for scalp trades, which are the blue lines on my chart. I use technical analysis of volume. I don't believe trend lines, moving averages, or other market indicators are dependable for trades. Subscribe and hit the notification to get alerted for the chart review video at the end of the day to see the results. Good morning. Let's do the pre-market prep for 5/13/2019, Monday. So we're looking at the weekly. You can see that we're already starting to sell a little bit off this week. In the previous week we came down and touched this, basically this top of this volume node right here, and I could see another bounce off of this node right here and maybe lower, and then testing this large volume node. I put this other profile on, profiling the rest of the chart action here, and you can see that this area lines up with the bigger area over here as far as the most volume. So if we were to come down, I would kind of expect us to start, testing these really large nodes right here and kind of stair step down. I would expect bounces off of each of the nodes, and the one that I'm kind of looking for is right here, 97, 98, and I'll show you that on the other chart. Kind of drew this as a projection of how maybe price can, work out if it comes down. If you look at this picture overall, right, this looks like just a strong trend where we've come back and tested the top of the breakout, and this is a volume node all to itself, and it could take off from here and make the next leg up. We have a lot of kind of bad news weakness with the trade deal, so you can kind of expect maybe some weakness this morning. I don't know. I think they're doing a pretty good job of holding the market up right now. On the daily, so these are kind of our ranges here, where we're basically where we closed at last week for the top of the range, and a little bit beyond where we traded at the end of the week too. Hard to believe that the last day of the week was basically the entire range today here. Again, right down here you have this huge volume node. It matches up nice with the pivots down here, definitely into this little cluster. Trying to look at anything else, you get this nice little cluster right here. There's a lot of nice structure that people that don't use volume profile are going to see down here, as places to purchase, and where they've kind of bought and launched, out of that area before. So just kind of keep that in mind as we come down. And this is currently range. I did draw a couple extra levels on the for the scalp levels down here. We've got the ATR definitely ticking up to 35. Volume was really great. I'm going to kind of scrunch the chart up here though. You can see like way back here in December when we had to sell off or whatever, that ATR was like all the way up like 60 something. So we're only like half of the way there, but you can definitely see as the ATR came down and we got real complacent, and now we've got these huge swings. It's hard to hold a position when the market is traveling this much during the day, so just keep that in mind, where people are shifting in and out of positions, trying to catch the bottom or trying to catch the top, and it makes for very volatile, high volume days. So just keep that in mind as we continue the trade. Here I added these extra levels. These are actually outside of the range of the day by a little bit, but there's this nice little shelf of volume down here, low volume point, kind of in match with where these tips are and where the tops of that is. Not much probably to say on the 40-minute chart, other than you're kind of bounced off the bottom of this node already. So if it trades past that, it's gonna trade down into this little node, and we just have little nodes left here, so I don't have a whole lot of confidence in them being great support, but definitely better than where we're at in this area up here. Around 2863 is kind of like your first node, and then you've got a good little node right here at 2875, 75, to look at on the bigger time frame. 60 minutes, so I basically drew this, if you want to call it a Fibonacci, from the top of the swing to the bottom of the swing last week. You can see that the midline's bisecting pretty nice and giving us a nice little range, and it's kind of in line with this volume node, the bottom of this volume node. So you could definitely see it trading up into this node and maybe bouncing off right here. It's definitely finding support across this node right now and trying to do its bounce. I thought it was interesting when you basically take half of this range, perfect little tap right here, a bounce, so if it stays up here, it's a little bit stronger and could break out either direction. So just keep that in mind, that when it breaks out, you get 100% range extension in one direction or the other, and the range extension would be up to the tops of this, and that maps nicely with that node that I kind of brought up, 2885. I think I said 87 was the top of it, but just to kind of keep you in mind how these levels kind of work with the symmetry. If you cut it again in half, you can see that it matches up at the bottom of that and the top of that, and then if you put it down here, it matches up kind of nicely with the bottoms of that and the top of that candle and this node right here. So I could definitely see a bounce off of the 2835 area as it comes down, and that matches with that real small LVN that's right there. Here are the levels marked out on the chart. Again, this 2884, I think we keep on saying 87, which kind of matches up, with this huge spike in the end of the day. So kind of look at that. I like this 76 area that's at the bottom of the gap right here that we had overnight, and there's a huge shelf of volume right here to trade against. So I would think that you'd get a couple points off of a short right in this area. This area right here looks really good to kind of hold up price action. In the bigger time frames, this is just a single line, but when you look at it in the smaller time frame, there's a lot of trading action here, and so I think there's a lot of support. I drew a lot of lines here for levels to bounce off of. If it comes down and tries to go through there, you'll get the bounce across the top first, and and then you've got lower peaks, and I don't like the second line as much as the first one probably, and the side volume looks even better than that middle one, but keep that in mind. And then you have basically the end of the bottom of the node right here, and it's got a pretty good little shelf to it also. So I would expect it to go test this in reality. Might bounce up and test the top of this node where this line is right here, and then maybe find some weakness and go. But I'm not really expecting a whole lot of strength in the market today, but I don't know. Maybe this is a buy the dip type of day and get in and go. You can see on the delta, we added a huge amount of contracts, and a lot of these people are underwater right at this point. So it's kind of, do they fight to try and get it back up, or do they liquidate their positions in order not to take a large loss? And you don't know who's going to show up or how they're going to trade it today. But the fact that they're not really holding the market up right now, it's kind of stair-stepping down. I wouldn't call this a bloodbath by any means, but there's a good location right here that if you're kind of trading, you're kind of holding to see how it reacts off of this level right here. So keep that in mind. This swing right here from here to here, I guess, this was actually from the previous week, and I had kind of pulled it across because it looked like the range was fitting really well, and then I basically drew on it after that and added a level up, and it matched with that, and this little pivot looks like it might be going for it. So that's kind of how I started out the drawing of this. You could also look at it like this, which might give you some symmetry. It's cutting off the tops of that, but it's matching the bottom of that. And if you were to use that, then this thing's way out there, and that might be the better looking piece of symmetry right there. Oop. Let me see if I can grab that. So, and then that would give you range extensions of the trading range in either direction. So kind of keep those in mind on how to draw that. Anything else that I can tell you? I wanted to scrunch this guy up and pull this back. So here's that node on the bigger time frame. So this is the node that we'd kind of trade into if we break the current levels. And you can see over here you have this nice little shelf, the gap. We've already come into this gap and filled it once before and traded down into this particular node. So these nodes really start to kind of come into play. Down here, the 2812 and the 2818 probably going to be pretty decent locations. Look how you have trading on both sides of the 2812 level, which tells me that there's a lot of people interested in this level, and you have that high peak right there. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your chart. And then you can see that big shelf of volume compared to everything else. So really looking to try and trade against that for a long today. But I hope that helps. Good luck in your training, and we'll see you after the market.